The average person spends between 5 and 6 hours a day watching television. Now let's put that in perspective. That's more time than you spend doing anything else but sleeping or working. More recent figures show that the numbers have climbed. The 20-year-old has spent closer to 2 full years of his or her life in front of the television set. At the same time, the researchers have noted a disturbing phenomena. It seems that we are getting progressively more stupid. They also note a decline in reading and comprehension levels in all age groups tested. Americans read less and understand what they read less than they did 10 years ago, less than they have at any time since research began to study such things. Interestingly, the studies have found that it doesn't matter what people watch, whether it's The Simpsons or the late night show. The more television you watch, the less literate, the more stupid you are. The growth in television watching has surprised some of the researchers. Back a decade ago, they were predicting that television watching would level off and might actually decline. The subconscious is very powerful. It is aware of every particle and detail that is around you, but it doesn't know the difference between fact or fiction and acts on all information passing through the conscious mind as fact and responds to it. So what do you think happens when you watch silly moron, goofy commercials and television programs? They are training your thought processes, ladies and gentlemen. The television is brainwashing you. It is man's moral strength that informs and orders his powers of reason. Without it, the mind becomes little more than a recording machine waiting for imprints. Have you ever noticed what you look like while watching television? If the angle is right, you might catch your own reflection in the screen. Jaw slightly open, lips relaxed into a smile, the blank stare of a television zombie. This is called soft brainwashing, ladies and gentlemen, and it's even more effective because its victims go about their lives unaware of what's being done to them. Television, with its reach into nearly every person's home, creates the basis for the mass brainwashing of people like you. It works on the principle of tension and release. Create tension in a controlled environment, increasing the level of stress, then provide a series of choices that provide release from the tension. As long as the victim believes that the choices presented are the only choices available, even if they are at first glance unacceptable, he will nevertheless ultimately seek release by choosing one of these unacceptable choices. Under these circumstances, in a brainwashing controlled environment, such choice making is not a rational experience. It does not involve the use of man's creative mental powers. Instead, man is conditioned, like an animal, to respond to the tension by seeking release. The key to the success of this brainwashing process is the regulation of both the tension and the perceived choices. As long as both are controlled, then the range of the outcomes is also controlled. The victims are induced to walk down one of several pathways acceptable for his controllers. The brainwashers call the tension-filled environment social turbulence. The last decades have been full of such social turbulence: economic collapse, regional wars, racial tension, population disasters, ecological and biological catastrophes. Social turbulence creates crises in perceptions, causing people to lose their bearings. Adrift and confused, people seek release from the tension, following paths that appear to lead to a simpler, less tension-filled life. There is no time in such a process for rational consideration of complicated problems. Television is the key vehicle for presenting both the tension and the choices. It brings you the images of the tension and serves up simple answers. Television, in its world of semi-reality, of illusion, of escape from reality, is itself the single most important release from our tension-racked existence. 8 hours a day, every day through its programming, you are being programmed. Just think about one important choice that you've made recently that was not in some way influenced by something that you've seen on television. I bet you can't think of one. That's how controlled you are. Think about it. Why do countless people go along with the war on Iraq? Why do so many of us agree with these hoax shootings like the Virginia reporting and Sandy Hook and September 11 hoaxes and things of this nature? Why do so many people call for a police state control grid? A major component to a full understanding of why this kind of governmental and corporate corruption is to discover the modern science of mind control and social engineering. It's baffling to merely glance at the stacks of documentation that this world government isn't being constructed for the greater good of humanity. Although there are a growing number of people waking up to the reality of our growing transparent soft cage, there seems to be just enough people who are choosing to remain asleep. Worse yet, there are even those who were at least partially awake at one time but found it necessary to return to the slumber of dreamland. There is no accident. This is a carefully crafted design, ladies and gentlemen. The drive to dumb down the populations of Earth is a classic art that existed before the United States did, brothers and sisters. One component to understanding and deciphering the systems of control is to become a student of the magicians of influence and propaganda. In order to defeat our enemies or dictators, it's imperative that we understand how they think and what they believe in. Most of the programming on television today is programmed by the largest media corporations that have interests in defense contracts, such as Westinghouse, CBS, and General Electric of NBC. This also makes perfect sense when you see how slanted and warped the news is today. Examining the conflicts of interest is merely glancing at the issue. Although to understand the multiple ways that lies become truth, we need to examine the techniques of brainwashing that the networks are employing. Understand also that radio isn't any different in its ability to brainwash a population into submission. 67 years ago, 6 million Americans became unwitting subjects in an experiment in psychological warfare. It was the night before Halloween, year 1938 at 8 p.m. The Mercury radio on air began broadcasting Orson Welles' radio adaptation of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. As is now well known, the story was presented as if it were breaking news, with bulletins so realistic that an estimated 1 million people believed the world was actually under attack by Martians. This is very significant, ladies and gentlemen, and I just had to open this up with all of that information, so I appreciate you all for staying tuned. This is the power of the television, okay? Over 1 million people believe the world was actually under attack by Martians at one point. We also can reflect back upon the Y2K situation in the year 2000 and also many more situations before and since then. We have many situations we can reflect back upon. We still continue to consume all of the media's madness.
Now, to balance the scale, I'd like to talk about some things that bring us together. Things that point out our similarities instead of our differences. Because that's all you ever hear about in this country is our differences. That's all the media and the politicians are ever talking about, the things that separate us, things that make us different from one another. That's the way the ruling class operates in any society. They try to divide the rest of the people. They keep the lower and the middle classes fighting with each other so that they, the rich, can run off with all the fucking money. fairly simple thing happens to work. You know, anything different, that's what they're going to talk about. Race, religion, ethnic and national background, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality, anything you can do, keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank. You know how I describe the economic and social classes in this country? The upper class keeps all of the money, pays none of the taxes. The middle class pays all of the taxes, does all of the work. The poor are there just to scare the shit out of the middle class. Keep them showing up at those jobs.
Have you ever watched TV or a movie and noticed you were becoming immersed in the characters and their stories? Did you notice at times in your life you may have wanted to do what you saw on TV or in a movie? Maybe you wanted your life to play out that way when it comes to a job or a relationship. It's pretty common that would happen as we watch these forms of entertainment, as they are designed for us to get engaged with them. But have you ever come to the realization that this could be a very powerful means to shape public opinion and create an ideal social psychology? You might be wondering, what do you mean an ideal social psychology? Well, think of it this way. If you were in control of many people and you wanted to make sure they would do certain things or be okay with certain things, is it possible you might use forms of entertainment to be sneaky in programming the masses' minds to be that way? TV shows themselves are called programs, and a lineup for any given station is considered the programming they offer. It should be no surprise, really, that programming is precisely what is happening as we watch the TV shows we watch. Even reality TV shows, which I can tell you right now are anything but reality. I've been seeing a lot of propaganda going on through the television set. And lately, my intuition has been showing me the massive deception that is taking place in the media at this time. And I also understand the importance of exposing the deception and also how this type of television programming can affect the psyche of the viewer. Now, me personally, I don't watch a lot of TV because I understand how this programming takes place. I managed to free my mind from the deception and also to help many others. But if you are plugged into the TV, then the reality you are perceiving is not yours and you are a victim of programming. And this is very important, ladies and gentlemen. If you look at some of the manipulation that take place on TV, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's always some impossible case that's usually pulling on the heartstrings of the average person, whether it be a child kidnapping or a really touchy murder. The end of the episode seems to always have some officer or character being glorified for their work and determination. The next time you're watching a TV show, pay attention to how often and how intense they push to keep the viewer in ego-based programming. With the right observation, you will notice that almost the entire show is a mindless distraction geared towards telling you how to be and how to react, all from programming, of course. Very little of the information is opening you up to looking at things in a new way, a more open and expanded way of thinking where we aren't being driven by things like fear, judgment, emotions, anger, and chasing the dream.
Then you have the media, not just the news media, let's include them all. The media are almost literally exploding with bullshit because they're located right at the crossroads of all the other bullshit. The media are made up of equal parts advertising, politics, business, public relations, and show business. These people are sitting right at bullshit junction. There's enough bullshit in the media for Texas to open a branch office.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
Most people may not realize that when they turn on the television in their home, what they see as a constant flow of images is actually flickering. Although we do not see this consciously, the repetitive pattern of flickering images creates a state that is similar to hypnosis in the television viewer. Studies by researcher Herbert Krugman have shown that within 30 seconds of television viewing, brain waves switch from predominantly beta waves indicating alert and conscious attention to predominantly alpha waves indicating an unfocused, receptive lack of attention. Media giants work hand in glove with the federal government as well as many multinational corporations to disseminate carefully planned messages. Through the television and other forms of media, they tell you what to think about, what to worry about, what to smile about, and what to be scared of. They have sold the public on the idea of the newscaster being an extension of the family, a trusted figure who encourages the acceptance of the information being presented as true and accurate. Many people have been tricked into believing that the mainstream media reports only objective news, while any information delivered from outside the mainstream is to always be questioned. Somehow the public has bought into the idea that the TV wouldn't lie to them. Funny. Many people will not pay any regard to information that is not covered by the major media. If they did not hear about it on the nightly news, then they simply don't care. This is the mindset that the major media moguls want us to have, as we are willfully ignorant and obedient to their every direction. Our unanalytical and loyal viewership is in their best interest. Major media news networks continually bombard us with the possibility of an endless amount of scenarios, which produce fear and then shape our reactions to real situations. This is predictive programming. It gets us familiar with an idea so that when it happens, we expect it and do not react and question. In order to take back our minds, we must first learn to unplug the signal. By turning off your TV, you will realize that the world you're living in is suddenly very unfamiliar to you. You will see that news of no importance is constantly debated and analyzed. And as you listen to the conversations of people around you, you realize they're talking robots, just repeating what they've heard on the news. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that the information I just presented to you is factual and true. Your society is a testament to everything I just said. With everything that's going on in the world today, I want to leave you with all of this information. Ponder deeply on what was said. Don't be a puppet on a string. Take control of your own thoughts and learn to shape your own perception. Knowledge is power, and the truth is the only thing that can set you free. I get a lot of flack from people saying, Brother Sanchez, talk about this, talk about that. You know, this is going on, that's going on, so why are you talking about that or talking about this? What I want to say to those individuals is don't forget you have a mouth yourself and you can talk about it yourself, okay? Now, with that being said, I have no time to talk about the same thing that the media is constantly talking about. What sense does that make, brothers and sisters? What sense does it make for me to reinforce the same agenda that the big corporations is doing through their media outlets? Remember, there's always an agenda. Remember, people. On this channel, I will spend no time doing exactly what the elite is doing to you. I will spend no time making mundane YouTube videos that you see floating around social media outlets that has no significance and no benefit to your soul. Unplug, brothers and sisters. Don't be steered by the hidden hand. New uploads every Thursday. Peace and much love.